Hello everyone. So this set of screencasts is looking at introducing you to version control and specifically using Git and GitHub to actually implement version control on your software projects. So version control allows you to share code with coworkers and view the entire history of your project. You can actually view every single change you make to the project if you're using version control correctly. The best way to show you the advantages of this and what the output will be is to just show you one of my code projects that I've used version control to manage. So as you can see here, this is a graphical user interface for version control system. This one's called Source Tree. There are many alternatives, and we'll see GitHub later on in these screencasts. So this is one software project that I was working on starting in 2014. And every single line in this main window here is a change that was made to the program. And you can actually look for one change, every single line of code that was modified. And the coder would also leave a little note telling everyone else what they changed. So it's a very powerful tool because I can see 3 years worth of changes to my software project, and every single version is a working version. And I can reset my code to that working version and test it for errors. So it's very powerful. So that's just an overview of what it could be used for, and we're going to show you how to do that specifically with GitHub. So version control, by storing the entire history of the project, it allows you to identify a specific location where a bug may have manifested. And this is really useful for debugging an error because if you know exactly every line that was changed, you can always revert to the previous version when it was working and see what went wrong. So it's great if you're working in a team or by yourself. And I thought I'd note, it's not just for code. You've also seen version control being used nowadays for word processor documents, specifically if you're using LaTeX over Microsoft Word, and also spreadsheets and publicly available datasets. So the crux behind version control is a version control system. And there are various pieces of software that perform this functionality. A version control system is just a database for storing the entire history of your project. Probably the most popular system is Git. Git is an open source version control system and it's widely used. So Git is the brains behind version control, but there are also several web-based Git services that provide online hosting, allowing you to share your code over the internet. And these are for sharing Git repositories. Several of the most popular ones are GitHub, Bitbucket, and GitLab. And I'd just like to have a quick look at those now, because it'll be great to have a subscription to basically every single one. So GitHub, it will be a requirement of this subject to sign up to GitHub. We have Bitbucket and we have GitLab. So the difference between these three, it's worth noting, is that GitHub is free for educational use and for open source use. However, if you're working on a confidential project, a private repository that you don't want to share with the outside world, you can actually make it free on Bitbucket and GitLab, whereas on GitHub you have to pay for a private repository. So there's several advantages. I have accounts on all three, and it actually is useful in that way. So for this subject, what you'll be focusing on, you'll be using Git and GitHub exclusively. There's 3 download links that I've provided here and that are on your lab task sheets. You can download Git, the brains behind the version control system, and you can also sign up to have a GitHub account. And this is necessary for this subject because we've provided every single student with a private GitHub repository for this subject. So create a GitHub account and we will send you an invite to your private repository, and then you can basically join it and start managing source code. I've also listed as an optional here to download the GitHub graphical user interface. For some users, the GUI is much nicer to use, but it has the exact same functionality as the command line, and I'll be showing you in the subsequent screencasts how to use both the command line and the graphical user interface to manage your version control history. So that's it for this introduction. The next screencast will look at specifically using Git and all the common operations you can use to manage your software project.